Hey. Happy Saturday. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the stream. Man, so glad you guys are here on this Saturday. This is a fine Saturday. It's a great Saturday so far. But hey, welcome to the stream. If you're new to the stream, thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here on this, like I said, fine Saturday. If you've never been here, thank you. It's a pretty laid back kind of stream. We talk about things we're interested in tech, things we're working on, things we're struggling with, maybe something we need help with, but all kind of related to tech. Awesome. I will get into follows and events here in a second. And then secondly, if you're, ooh, that's bright. I need that though. I'm so tired. Anyways, if you're not new to the stream or you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here and coming back. And yeah, so what do we have going on today, man? I'm like so out of it right now because I'm so beat. Anyways, I'll try not to act beat. I'm drinking some caffeine, not straight, but water with caffeine in it. Anyways, so it's Saturday. I'll start with the weather. Man, it is so nice out here in Minnesota. If you're in the Midwest or northern Midwest or somewhere in between the Midwest. It's super nice. Like today is 60, 65 and sunny. We went from like 2 feet of snow to this. And then I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it's going to be like almost 80 degrees here, which is kind of, I wouldn't say unheard of. And I guess it's not atypical because that happens quite a bit around here. Whoa, thank you. Dude, Ilud, man. Ilud. Oh, man. All right. So real quick, Ilud, thank you so much. Gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Dude, Ilud, thank you so much, man. You do so much already. Let's see. So let's see who gets some max stripes. That Pro Tools guy. Catarataus. I'm going with that. Me 473. Felipe Fontana. Enjoy your gifted sub from Ilud. Dude, thank you so much. I'll go down the line now. Dude, PC Geek, thank you so much. Resub, tier 1, 31 months, 31 month streak. Wow, man, it's getting close to 3 years. This is wild. Wild. Have I been doing this for 3 years? I think I have. And then I'll go back. Let's go to here. Friar Duck, Sinville, Debiabot. Oh, I'm terrible at pronouncing some of these. Thank you guys for the follow. Appreciate it. And I think there was one. No, Sinville. I'm going with Sinville. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. But as I was saying, weather's here is going to be awesome. I'm a little bit, I don't want to say upset. How can I be upset that it's going to be 70, almost 80? Well, I don't like the heat. I like 50s and 60s. I like to just ease into summer and then ease into stuff. But we haven't had normal seasons in a while. So anyways, yeah, my dark mode's not totally working, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. Actually, I can. I'll do it really quick. Off, I think. I don't know. Remind me at the end of the stream to look at the code that's running in Kubernetes. I know exactly what to fix. I forget every time I get off the stream. So anyways, I'll do this manually. I'm manually triggering automation. How about that? I'm clicking buttons to trigger automation because those 2 LED lights back there aren't working. So anyways, yeah. So weather's been great, and then man, I've been working hard on this last video. It's kind of wild. You wouldn't think that like, hey, just creating a video about a Proxmox server on Protectly would be like that time consuming. Oh man, I am wrong. Every time I think I'm just gonna have like, hey, this is gonna be some easy content. Not easy as in like low effort, like I didn't put effort into it, but things are gonna go smooth and editing is gonna go smooth. And all of it did. It just took so dang long. But I learned a lot of things. And anyways, so I released a video on a small, efficient, low power, whatever device. But I specifically built it on top of, I built my stack on top of a Protectly device, which are pretty cool. I'd seen them. I see them in social media. I see them on Amazon. I see people talking about them. But Protectly reached out to me and they were like, hey, you want a couple of devices, like no strings attached or anything? We support Proxmox and all this. I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, like, what does someone say to that? Yeah, why not? and they sent them to me, and they're actually pretty fantastic. So, anyways, I won't go into too much, but I ended up turning this one Proxmox server. It's actually back there. It's actually running right now. I actually turned this Proxmox server into like an all-in-one server plus desktop. And that top screen up there, right there, is actually, it's on Twitch on the website right now from the virtual machine that's running inside of Proxmox. And I pass through all of the devices from the host down to the guest. So it's, and on top of that, it's running, it's running a Ubuntu server, it's running a Windows desktop, it's running pfSense, it's running TrueNAS. And then on top of that, I can connect a monitor to it because the way that I have it set up. So pretty wild. That's something that I've had in my backlog for a long time. Like, hey, like some people do this. Like, I've heard of people doing it with laptops and stuff like that. But I wanted to figure out how to do, basically an all-in-one device where you're actually using it like a desktop, but it's actually running Proxmox and you're running a virtual machine, but all the hardware is passed through all the way down to that virtual machine. So it's kind of Inception, but kind of cool at the same time. And I got lucky with this processor too, because this processor doesn't have the greatest GPU, but it has, it has the Intel GPU, I think UHD or something like that, which is like good enough for whatever I need to do on that machine, which is also good enough for Plex. So I learned so much about some more inner workings of Proxmox, how to pass through a single GPU down to one of the guests, and it's pretty cool. I always wondered, like, what happens when you take the only GPU and you pass it to a virtual machine? Like, what happens on the screen and everything? I figured all that out. Like, the screen just freezes sometimes. Sometimes it goes black, sometimes it does nothing, sometimes it just freezes until the other one kicks in. So anyways, it's been super fun to kind of get back into like just totally like doing something off the wall and tinkering, and then just learning some more about Proxmox. So anyways, that's kind of been my last 2 weeks. It's been a lot of work, but it's all fun. It's all fun. Like and then I release it, and it's video's doing really, really good. So I'm happy about that. That's always I won't go too much into like creator mode and how the numbers kind of affect your mood, and you second guess a lot of things, but when you release video and there's like crickets, it's kind of like, oh, that sucks. I put so much time into this thing. But when you release one that does really well, like the one this morning, then you're like, okay, I think I still got it. Anyways, I'll get off that. That's not what you guys want to talk about. We want to talk about tech stuff. So let's talk about tech stuff. I mentioned this earlier, but if you have something you want to share, you have something you want to talk about, you have something you're excited about, throw it in chat, and let's talk about it. I see lots of stuff already, so let's figure it all out. First of all, let's see who was here first. I think it was Yakto with an LOL. Well, actually, Cyber Knight. I think it was Cyber Knight. Yeah, he was here first because I'm looking at my other chat client, and then I'll jump in and put the chat on the screen here in a second. Let's see. Cyber Knight. Real quick too. Sorry about being late. I'm always kind of late. 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. Today was 10 to 15 only because I had to like disconnect, go for a walk. I felt really weird and I like needed some fresh air. So anyways, sorry for being late. I'll go over and I'll probably go way over, so I'll more than make up for it to you. So anyway, so going back to this, Cyber Knight says, hey y'all, finished putting together custom image to back up my SQL server running on Kubernetes to Minio as a cron job on K3S. Now developing some microservices for an app. Oh, and I got my rims, tires installed on my motorcycles. Nice, yeah, man, that's perfect timing. Perfect timing for spring. Cause it's a coming. But yeah, going back to your first comment, that is awesome. So you have I did something similar too, but you have a custom image to back up my SQL server running in Kubernetes to Minio. That is perfect. That is exactly what I did for MongoDB. I found one actually that works okay for MySQL, and it's actually pretty cool. But what you're doing is you want to back up. You basically want to do a MySQL dump or export your database to a .db file or a tar.gz, whatever, and zip it up. And you want to then, after you dump that, you want to put it in object storage so that you could pull it out and use it, and which is great. And I assume then you probably have, persistent volumes along with that too. And you probably back those up too, which you can also back those up to Minio or S3 or whatever you want to call it, object storage too, which is pretty cool. So anyways, I do exactly what you're doing. I'm so glad you're doing it that way, because so many times I've seen like folks will be like, yeah, I just back up the persistent volumes and they're backed up and then they call it good, which is kind of okay, except for in a disaster recovery scenario. In that scenario, you have to recover your whole entire environment just to get that database file back. So doing what you're doing is awesome. I that's the way the route I go to. I treat backups of persistent volume claims like a true DR, where running a MySQL dump or a Postgres dump or a MongoDB dump, and then zipping that up and shipping that off daily, nightly, weekly, however often you want is fantastic, because then you can restore that database anywhere you want. You want to run MySQL on your own machine and restore that database just to tinker around? You can't. You can't do that with persistent volume claims. Anyways, man, I'm spending a lot of time on this first one. There's a lot coming in. So anyways, Cybernight sounds awesome. I do something similar too, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's good to think about. It's one thing to back up hard disks. It's another to back up the critical files and get those off the machine so that you can restore that one file if you need to. Anyways, love it. Yakto, LOL. I think this was related to, all right, I'm bouncing around. So iLoot said second in, and then Salveri says, welcome to iLoot's personal development broadcast. Wait, that's the other monitor. Salveri, how's it going, man? And then now we're here. All right, you guys will see what I see now. Hey, Holy Merc, how's it going? Yeah, Holy Merc. This is the Holy Merc. I assume there's only one Holy Merc. Dude, Manny, I assume, has resub Prime 11 months. Thank you. I assume there's not more than one Holy Merc. There can't be. Thank you. How's it going? Twisted Grim, today is clean your office / server room kind of day. Laundry basket. Sorry, I cut myself. And I don't want to get blood everywhere. So, I do what normal people do and drink their own blood. I don't know what's going on. Dude, I totally agree. Like, today is a great day to, at least here in the Midwest and probably where you are, to open up the windows and get some fresh air in the house. This is the first time where I'm opening up this. We have a second floor kind of I don't know what it's called, porch. And today's the day that I just opened the door, and I'm going to open the windows and just let tons of air in here, and dust is going to be everywhere, but I'm going to let tons of air in here. But I agree. Today's a good day to just do some cleaning. I think I might too. Don't hold me to it, but I just need to one of the reasons I like cleaning is because I could just zone out, probably listen to music, and just disconnect from tech and just do physical things. It's not I'm not working out or anything, but just do something where I'm moving around. It's pretty easy to figure out what I need to do in doing that. So, hey, Comagen, dude, thanks for the bits. Thank you so much. Hey, Tim, Kevin here. Thanks for the new vid. Looks awesome. Quick question. How do you manage multiple devices on one desk without too much struggle? Do you use a KVM or do you have a better solution? Thanks. Comagen. Yeah, great question. I do have two devices. So I have my Windows machine that I'm on right now, and then I have my MacBook for work that is right here. I don't use a KVM. I got pretty lucky. So let's talk about what else I have here. I have 3 monitors right here. A keyboard, a mouse, Stream Deck, and all kinds of USB peripherals. So really what it comes down to is I got pretty lucky. My monitors support both DisplayPort and HDMI. And then my MacBook, I have dongles. Everyone has dongles if you have a MacBook. I have dongles that are HDMI. So I run all the HDMI to these 3 monitors. And then on my PC, I use the DisplayPort to all 3 of these monitors. So it's actually nice. So I don't need a KVM for that because I can, shut down the monitors only. And then I press a button on my USB toggle switch. I have a USB toggle switch that switches my hub over to my Mac or Windows. And then I wake that machine up. And then I put, when I'm done with that, I put that back to sleep. So really, I actually have, an HDMI switcher for this, but no normal person will have an HDMI switcher. It's just so I can do Zoom calls and make everyone jealous of my video quality over Zoom at work. I'm kidding. Not really. But really, what it boils down to, the thing that makes like all of this possible for me is, you know, I have a USB hub, a USB hub switcher, and then fortunately my monitors support DisplayPort and HDMI. And then yeah, but if I had multiple display ports, if I had 2 Windows PCs, that would kind of stink. I'd probably try to do HDMI again if I could. The reason why I'm doing DisplayPort with my Windows machine is, one, because I want the better refresh rate. You know, I get 144 hertz on this stuff, and I don't need that or have that with my Mac, and can't get it over HDMI. So I hope that helps. I mean, I can send you at some point. Just ping me in Discord. It's just a green USB toggle, and that's it. And that's how I switch back and forth between my Mac and Windows device. It's actually it's worked out a lot nicer than I thought. So let's see. Yeah. So going back to cleaning. Yeah, I might zone out and clean today. Tim Calico, how's it going? Hey. Let's see. PC Geek, how's it going, man? Still trying to get VLANs on a host working without inter-VLAN versus direct LAN, causing disconnects. Yeah, we've been talking about this. I think what you're trying to do is have let me think about this. Have one node in your Kubernetes cluster with multiple interfaces, and each one of those interfaces connecting to a different VLAN, and then running MetalLB with those 2 different interfaces, or listening for those requests to then send those to the appropriate node. Yeah, it's wild, man. I hope you figured it out. If you figured it out, let me know, because that is like so far down. I haven't done that yet. Dude, Mr. Technician, dude, thank you so much. 100 bits. Thank you. Hi, Tim. Working on setting up GPU pass-through with an Intel Arc A380 on Proxmox, but I'm stuck on a black screen. Even though I can install drivers and see the GPU in RDP. Oh, this is my life. That's been my life for the last week. Sad times. I might return it and get an AMD card instead. Also, what HDMI camera are you using as a webcam? So 2 things there. One, it's not the Arc's fault. I will say that. Your Intel Arc, I guarantee it's not its fault, because I just ran into this. My current video, you know, there's a good 20% of my video that's kind of dedicated to this, and it'll work with Ubuntu. So before you return it, and I mean, I'm not saying don't return the thing if you're not getting value out of it and you don't want it, return it. But before you do, create an Ubuntu desktop real quick and humor me, and then pass it through to that machine, and I almost guarantee it'll work the way you expect it to. And that's what I ran into. Like when I would pass a video card through to a Windows machine, and I could see it in RDP, but it wouldn't output to the display. I would get a black screen. Then I did Ubuntu, and I could pass it through, and then I could see it on the display. And then here's where the weirdness here's where it gets even weirder. The Windows machine, even though I couldn't see the display, I could see the video card over RDP, and I could use QuickSync to do transcoding. Weird. Okay. But then on my Ubuntu machine, even though I could see the display when I passed through the video card, it couldn't do QuickSync. So I don't know. I seriously put a good 4 or 5 hours into it because I just wanted it to work. I was like, I'm fine with running Ubuntu desktop, but I think more people could relate like you if I could run my server and run Windows as my desktop, and then have all of my other, machines running on that server too, and pass through the video card and all that stuff. So I ran into the same thing. I think someone in our Discord, someone did this morning, posted a couple of tips, and I think they had a blog post of some of the things that they've been able to do to get it to work. And mine was a clean Proxmox install, brand new 743. And I had 0 hacks, did everything by the book, and I still ran into an issue. So, I spent so much time toggling RAM bar on, RAM bar off, all features on, all features off, adding another monitor, turning off VNC. I did so many things. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm kind of glad it's over. But if you figure it out, let me know. I hope you do figure it out. Second question, what HDMI camera are you using as a webcam? So I'm not using a traditional webcam. This is the same. This is my Sony a6400. This is the same exact camera that I use to film my YouTube videos. So it's kind of 2 for 1, 3 for 1. I don't know. Getting a lot of value out of it because I use it all day for Zoom. I use it for streaming, and then I also use it for YouTube. So so a6400. Sony, mirrorless camera, and then I have HDMI going into a Camlink, Camlink for my Mac, and then I have a DVR, a card that's PCI Express that has 4 inputs for HDMI for Windows. Hence why I mentioned earlier, I also have an HDMI toggle, because when I hop on my Mac and I need to do Zoom, I press the USB button and the HDMI toggle, and that moves all devices over to my Mac. And then when I'm, night mode, working on Windows and coding and content creation, I switch back and I hit that button again, and it all is good. So yeah, that's it's pretty wild how it works. I think I think hasn't happened yet. I think the way I'm working is going to change drastically here soon. More on that later. I'm waiting to get some more hardware. Let's see. I'm determined there is a way. Yeah, I know you're determined. And when you figure it out, I'd love to know, because you're not the only one. Because what I do is I end up installing multiple versions of MetalLB, or I put those machines, I create multiple machines and put those on the VLAN that I want them on. So, Calico, Hugo site updates. Awesome. So use static site generator. Trying to use Confluence for documentation. Ooh. Ooh, wow. And Warhammer 40K mini stuff. Awesome. So Warhammer 40K mini stuff, that's awesome. I'd love to see some of your figurines, and I assume you mean you're painting and customizing them. Hugo sites, awesome. All in. Static site generator, let's go. Confluence. I'm teasing. I know. I don't know. My perception of Confluence is about 6 years old, and it was, on top of that, it was a custom way. The company I work for totally hacked jobbed all of Jira and Confluence to it, making it pretty much made me like throw Confluence out the window. I'm sure it's a lot better now, but every time I think about it, I'm just like, whoa, and it's probably a great product, but the company I work for hacked it all up to where it was so custom you could barely even use it. Anyways, I'm blabbing about Confluence. I hope, hey, it's documentation. If it's gonna help you, use it. That's what I always say. And I'm slightly, I wouldn't say bashing Confluence. I'm just poking it a little bit and just poking fun. But I always say the best documentation system is the one you use, and I mean that. If you're paper and pencil, if you're Google Keep, if you're whatever, and you use it and you continue to use it, that's the best one. So many times I see people try out 15 documentation systems and they get lost. It's just distro hopping. Same thing with containers. You try out 15 containers, you're like, I kind of like this one, but that one looks better, and maybe I'll try that. And you stay on that one for a little bit, and you're like, I don't like the way the one thing does this, and you end up losing sight or focus on what you were trying to do to begin with, which is create documentation. So I would say stick with one that you like and that you'll use, and that's going to be the best one for you. So anyways, sounds awesome. I'd love to see your Warhammer 40K mini stuff. You should totally post it in Discord. Twisted Grim, I'm working on a few different projects, cleaning up the network cables for my new Switch, as well as Prometheus exporter and Home Assistant import from my house solar panel array. Jeez, that sounds awesome. I see the whole energy section in Home Assistant. I'm like, I want to use this, but I don't have anything to put on there. Some of my IoT devices here will measure how much power I'm using, but I want to put power back in. I don't want to see me draining power out of the grid. I mean, it's what we all do, but with solar, it starts to get interesting, or anything where you can, generate or capture some electricity and put it back in the grid or sell it or whatever. It looks awesome. And Home Assistant is pretty awesome. I use it too. So anyways, Prometheus exporter, that is awesome. So you're going to export some data, so you could probably use it with Grafana. So pretty cool. Cleaning the network cables for my new Switch. Oh man, you guys have so many awesome projects going on. So many awesome projects. Yocto finally got around to put everything away from PDX LAN. Awesome. And finally got back to ranking some new compute modes. Awesome. So PDX LAN was last week, I think? Timing's not the greatest, but it's gaming in the Pacific Northwest. And now you're back to racking some compute nodes. Are these new? I assume they are. YWS out there in the Pacific Northwest. So Yocto's data center, and it really is turning into a data center. Dang Yakto, how many compute nodes now? Do we get a running total of cores, memory listed somewhere? Haha, I agree. I want to see that. How many cores? How much RAM? How much disk? Raw, just raw. And well, we need to know whether they're logical or physical or threads. But as far as disk and RAM go, I would love to see it. I'm sure it's a lot. I'm sure it's way more than me. MKTBS, today I learned that Ubiquiti Flex Mini doesn't support custom port profiles. You can assign custom ports, and the includes all port profile, but no profiles. Like an all port with a custom PV ID. I didn't know that. Learned today. So I have Unify Flex Mini. I have like 4 of them. They're PoE. So Unify Flex Mini switches are these little tiny cute. They are cute. I can say it. They're cute little switches. They're tiny, like this big. That are PoE powered. Like they're powered by PoE, which is awesome. And then they give you, layer 3 networking or layer 2, one of the layers, networking, so you can do VLANs. And they're really awesome. I use them. I have them like on my wall, behind my TV, like places where I'm like, okay, I have 4 devices here. I kind of need a switch, but at the same time, I want to get VLAN, so I plug one of those in. It gets powered by my PoE switch, which is awesome, and then I get to manage it like another unified device. But the all port, so you can assign custom ports in the includes and the all port profile, but no custom profiles. I have to think about what that means. I can't think of, I have to look at the UI, sadly. I do, to figure out what you mean by custom port profiles. I mean, I have VLANs assigned, but that's not custom port profiles. I assume you mean like, yeah, you create a custom profile that you want to assign to this port so that you can do whatever, content filtering or, apply those rules directly to that whole entire port versus doing it at the firewall. So yeah, I'll have to look. I'm sure if you're saying that's what it is, that's what it is. Sigor, hi everyone. Still trying to get traffic up for my TLS certs. Any idea why the dashboard gives me a 404 error? Yeah, the dreaded 404. It's 404 or 403. It's most likely going to be your configuration on traffic. I know that sucks to say that, and it's pretty obvious, or maybe not so obvious, but it has to be something with your configuration with traffic because and I have you can look at my Docker one. I don't know if you're doing it in Docker or if you're doing it in Kubernetes. I assume Docker, but I think my configuration kind of has it right. A lot of people have added to that over time and looked at it and used it. So you might want to check out my documentation on it. That it's on GitHub or docs.technotim.live. And if mine's wrong, let's fix it. If mine doesn't work, let's fix it. But 404 generally means, this one's a little bit weird, but 404 generally means that the route isn't defined. The route isn't, no. Sorry. 503 usually mean, now I got it backwards. I used to know my status codes with, I understand HTTP status codes, but with traffic, it's a tell. Like, I think it's 404. 404 generally means that route's not defined, and then 503 means that the backend behind it, nope, that's what it is. So 503 means that route is, I don't know. Anyways, it's all different for traffic. 404 not found. Yeah, no, I totally get it, the HTTP status codes. 503, yeah. So I get it from like the HTTP status codes, like what they mean, like 404 not found, or resource isn't found. But when you have traffic in there as your proxy, I think when it's a 404, it means that route isn't defined. So you haven't defined that route yet. 503 usually means that the service behind that route is not up. So the 404, if you see that, which you're seeing, it means that route's not defined. But this isn't helping you at all because this is like an internal traffic API to show that dashboard. Anyways, let's Sigor, let's look at my documentation and see if that's right. And I think I would. It's either going to be in my Launchpad repo or the actual doc on it for sure. Docker Compose. Okay, there we go. Seems to be building properly, but I'm not getting the dashboard, let alone search for my stuff. So 2 things going on. So I would look at the container logs. Container logs, I know it's, I know it might sound obvious, or it's like, oh yeah, I probably should. Traffic is pretty good at telling you what's going wrong. They are pretty good. They have some decent error logs. I would just go to the container logs, look at them, and when you restart the container, it'll tell you. So separate those two out. First you want to get certificates, right? You want to get TLS. When that container restarts, it's gonna say like, hey, whatever, bad token, or it's gonna say I can't get out to the internet, or DNS is wrong, or all this crazy stuff that it could be. But I would look at the container logs, and then getting your traffic dashboard going is I wouldn't say super complicated, but you have to get that YAML right, because it's this special, it's a special route within traffic to expose its own dashboard service. So awesome. Salvarius Techno Tim seeking a therapist now that will have. Oh, sorry. Can I read today? Seeking a therapist now that you have stressed me into thinking I should be doing anything this weekend. No, you don't have to do anything. I honestly, I don't want to do anything after this stream. I just want to be lazy. It's been a while since I've kind of just not done anything, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I mean, I'm gonna do stuff, but I'm just gonna, tinker around on the internet and maybe clean up my workbench, and it's totally cool. Like, you don't have to have a plan for Saturday. Saturday is a day that should be, it's for you. So if you want to make plans on your Saturday, make plans and get them done. And if you don't, hey, join the club, because I'm kind of there. Got very little sleep this morning. Exactly. I got very little sleep last night. So I'm kind of there. I just want to chill out. Calico, fun fact, Google Wi-Fi will only let you port forward devices with a physical MAC address. Not super fun for home labs. Yeah, I hear a lot of stuff about Google's, their Wi-Fi and port forwarding. I didn't even know you could port forward. I thought that was off limits. So maybe they then said, oh, only physical devices. And also, I don't know how they know the difference between physical and, I mean, there are ways, but I don't see how they know the difference between, physical MAC addresses and not, unless they're doing Google knows everything. Maybe they have all the MAC address, the vendors for every single MAC address. And if that's the case, just spoof one of them, spoof one from your other device. I don't know if that's the case, but if that's the case and Google was actually looking and saying, hey, this MAC address, comes from this vendor, well, I would look at one of your NICs on a physical one and change the last number by 1 and see if that works. I probably won't work, but yeah, I hear a lot of stuff about, Google's Wi-Fi and how it's, they try to make it consumer friendly and magic. And, from that, it doesn't have a ton of flexibility. So, my secure gift, Techno Tim, is there a way to run Kubernetes on a single computer? Yes, there is. There absolutely is. There are a couple distributions that help you do this. A lot of times, people do this for a Kubernetes development, or they don't have a development environment, or they want to they're developing software against a local Kubernetes environment so they can test it out rather than having to spin up all of those services manually on their machine. So anyways, yeah, there's a couple things you could do. I think Minicates is one of the most popular one, Minicates. Microcates. Microcates? See, my brain is not working. There's Microcates, super duper popular. There is Minikube. Minikube is, I think, the most popular as far as a local Kubernetes cluster running on your machine. And then there's, I don't know. I mean, you can run a single node Kubernetes cluster and not have it be, Minikube or anything else. You can run a single node one, even with K3S. There's nothing really stopping you. It's one machine, single point of failure. But that if you're choosing to run one machine with Kubernetes. So yeah, you could even do it with K3S. I don't think there's anything stopping you from any of the distributions. It just, you won't have high availability. But if this is what you're trying to do, it doesn't matter anyways. So, but there are some more geared towards that. And those are the ones that I was mentioning, like Minikube and Microcates. And Minikube, I've used that before. It's really a easy way to set up, Kubernetes on your own machine, simulate a cluster so you can develop against it. There's another one too that starts with an F, I think. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I forget what there's another one. Flank? I don't know. Not Flank. But I like that name. Yocto, this will bring me up to 6 currently. There are Ryzen 5600 nodes specifically for Minecraft nodes. Awesome. Oh yeah, speaking my language. Darren, Day Ryan. I'm going to go with Darren. Hey, just watched your video. I actually have a similar setup, but with an Optiplex 7000 instead of Protectly. Now I'm testing Oracle Linux virtualization, KVM, inside of Proxmox because I have a project at work with that product. Sorry, I'm like, it's a scratch. I need to cut my mustache because like I feel like they're poking me in different places, weird places. Mustache, stop poking me. So what happens when you talk and smile and you kind of have a mustache? Like every now and then, like the hairs will go weird and then they're just poking you in places. Anyways, it sounds weird too to say I have a mustache, but I've had one for a long time. I've just never considered it a mustache. So let's see. So you're testing Oracle Linux virtualization, KVM, inside of Proxmox because I have a project at work with that product. Cool. That is awesome. So you're basically doing nested virtualization, which is awesome. I totally forgot that I didn't mention that in the video. Now that you say that too. Real quick, Razvan Paul, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Awesome. So you're running Proxmox and then you're going to run Oracle KVM inside of Proxmox because of project at work. That is awesome. That is awesome. I love it being able to spin up, an environment at, home because you want to learn something for work. That was my life for a long time. It still kind of is. It still kind of is, even though like now it's separated. But when I was switching careers, it was definitely, that was my life was watching tutorials, watching all kinds of videos and then building out stuff at home that I thought we would ever build at work, and sometimes I do it to kind of get ahead of work so that I know the answer or that I understand that, hey, this is the wrong solution or right solution. So awesome. That is awesome. And you brought up a good point about, I assume, nested virtualization. I totally forgot about nested virtualization. I have nested virtualization running on there and I forgot to mention it. Why do I have nested virtualization in there? Am I running Proxmox in Proxmox? No, I'm running Hyper-V in Proxmox so I can get to WSL from my Windows virtual machine, which I totally forgot to mention. So anyways, but nested virtualization on Proxmox, it works pretty well. I think. I mean, it's like, is it the most efficient thing ever to run a hypervisor in a hypervisor? No. Is it great for testing? Yeah. Is it okay for running something small and lightweight like WSL on Windows? Sure. But it all depends on your hardware and stuff like that. But yeah, you have to be able to support, nested virtualization too with the right processor. Debarjim, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Calico, can you use Tailscale? No port forwarding required. That is true. You can use Tailscale. You can use Tailscale for lots of stuff. And it's a huge use case. So CGNAT and then stuff like Google Wi-Fi. Yeah, Tailscale is where that helps. And same with there's Tailscale and then there's Cloudflare tunnels. Like all of those solve a great problem. Is being able to publicly route stuff from the internet through whatever network you're on, and it's pretty awesome. It's kind of like I'd be curious because I always think like somebody could totally like backdoor anything and let anyone in your network on say like an enterprise environment. So I'm always curious like so now that Tailscale is out and people are using it and like Cloudflare tunnels are out and people are using it, like what are network administrators doing like in an enterprise environment to like protect against this, if anything? Because that's kind of tough. I mean, think about it. Like I could go to work for Fortune 10 company and then reverse tunnel out and let the internet into my machine directly if I just run a Cloudflare tunnel on my own machine. And then do some network magic to then forward that traffic to one of our internal servers. That's where it kind of gets weird for me. So I'm always curious, like how are people fighting this or battling this or protecting yourself against this, in an enterprise environment or any network environment? Hey, I love Cloudflare tunnels, but what if you were like, we don't allow Cloudflare tunnels in our environment, Like, what the heck would you do? Just block all Cloudflare IPs or something? I don't think you can do that. I'm sure it uses some kind of protocol, but I think it's SSL going out. So it'd be really hard to. I don't know. I'm always curious about that. Need a Tom Lawrence video on how to block those darn Cloudflare tunnels. Not that I think they're bad. I'm just saying, like, how would one want to do that? Because I would think if you were a network administrator, a network engineer for a large company, you wouldn't want people like letting people directly from the internet into your private network. I mean, it's totally just like you're letting them inside of your walled garden. And then on top of that, if you don't have, zero trust or stuff like that, like all of a sudden you just let the internet in through the moat, around the moat, under the moat, however you want to say it, into this VLAN or this network that you think is trusted, and you don't have proper security everywhere because you're like, well, it's our trusted network. I mean, this is going into why, nothing should be trusted. But anyways, I'm always curious about that. Lickety, how's it going? Lickety probably has some good stuff on this too. I'm sure you guys have lots of good stuff on this, and I'm just not exposed to it. It's just things I think about and worry about. Twisted Grim, nice. Let's see. Let's find dark mode. Thank you. Friar Duck, work through your Terraform Cloudflare tutorial this week. Great stuff. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. I found that one myself. I learned more in that one than I have in a lot of my own tutorials in a long time. Like most of the stuff I teach is stuff I just learned. But that's the one where I felt like I just learned like way more than I normally learn. So it was cool because I got to explore Terraform, and then I got to either love or hate Terraform state and think about like, why doesn't Ansible care about state? They kind of do. They only say their desired state, so you just kind of keep running the thing over and over and over. Whereas Terraform can say, hey, I know what state you're in because the last time you ran, you were this, and you should still be that, and because of that, I'm not going to touch you. Like it's interesting. And then got to learn about cloud state for Terraform, and how to use Cloudflare API for that too. So I learned a ton in that one. So I'm glad you liked it. Mr. Technician, hi Tim. I'm in the process of speccing out a water-cooled PC. So far, have my 4090. Dang, yeah, 4090 in my case. Right now, I'm stuck on whether I need 2 or 3 radiators. Jeez. So you're doing custom water-cooled. Yeah, that sounds interesting, Mr. Technician. I haven't done any kind of like, real water cooling, like custom loops or anything like that. Mine's an all-in-one cooler that has a radiator and it's closed loop, and I just bought it and put it on my CPU. So I did minimal effort water cooling. So I don't know. I don't know how many radiators you need. I have no clue. I watch a lot of custom build PC stuff on YouTube all the time with custom loops, and I love watching build videos, but I couldn't even tell you how many radiators you need. I don't even know how you spec that out. Is it by heat? And then how do you know how much volume? Is it by pump? Yeah. See, so many questions. I'm sure you know a lot more than I do right now. But yeah, I'd be curious to know. SPJ, hi, hello. Let's see. Friar Duck, and I love the Protectly devices. They're actually just up the road from me, 10 minutes away. Awesome. That is cool. I think they're in the Pacific Northwest. Speaking of that, I think they are. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if they're in Vancouver, Washington. I think so. Either that, it's Vancouver, British Columbia. But I thought they were in the U.S. British Columbia. No, I thought they're in the U.S. in Vancouver, Washington. I could be wrong though. Adion EU. At the moment, I'm trying to wrap my head around traffic. Very confusing at the beginning because there are many ways to do things with traffic. There are, especially with Docker. If you start doing it with Kubernetes, there's less ways. But yeah, with Docker, there are so many ways. Am I going to define all these routes? Am I going to use labels? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? I would just say, find a good tutorial on it, copy it, and play with it until you figure out which way you want to do it. And I would also recommend just like starting small, start with one domain, start with one route. Don't like try to, eat the whole elephant at the same time. What do they say? What's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I like that analogy because Sometimes I'm guilty of just saying like, yeah, I have whatever. If I was doing traffic, I'm like, sweet, I have 9 domains. I have about 15 apps. I have all these custom routes. Let's do this. And then I have to take a step back and say, like, let's solve it once before solving the whole thing. And if you solve it once, then it just becomes, rinse and repeat. So, but yeah, I mean, I have a couple tutorials on traffic. I'm not saying that makes it any easier, but a lot of people have felt my own pain through teaching that too. And I just spit all over my whole monitor. We're all right. Doing okay if I'm spitting on the monitor. Mr. Technician, I'm feeling weird too, Tim. Oh man, I might go for a walk in a little bit. Weather is awesome. Yeah, I felt weird this morning. I still kind of feel weird. I had this weird pain. I'm not going to go into my ailments. I am getting a little bit older, but I had this. I'll get into it. I had this weird pain, and I was like, "Is this my kidney or my back?" Like I've never had like. I don't even know what it feels like for your kidney to hurt. I've heard people talk about it before, and I'm like, I kind of know where mine are, kinda. But I don't know what it's like for that thing to hurt. But this is like a different pain. And so I was like, I need some sunshine and fresh air and some music, and I'm going for a walk. And so that's actually why I was late today, because I was like, I'm doing 30-minute walk. I'm going to walk as far as I can, one way for 15 minutes, and then, walk as far and as fast as I can back. And, that then would be the 30 minutes, which put me over a little bit. But I had to get that out of me because I was like, ooh, that's kind of weird. I don't know. Weird pains going on. So anyways, I hope you feel better. Weather is awesome. I am loving it. It's kind of muddy and stuff around here because everyone had 4 feet of snow in their yard, and now it's melting, and just going everywhere. But I'm totally fine with that. I'm more fine with that than ice and snow like it's been. CloudZU. When looking the supported software Protectly, I found that XCPNG. Do you have an opinion on that hypervisor? Oh yeah, so they support XCPNG as well. I don't have any opinion on it. I know that it's popular. It's open source. I think it's from Citrix or forked from them, or anyways. There's a large backing behind it. It's super popular. And they're pretty popular for open source in the enterprise too. No, I have no beefs with it, none whatsoever. I used to have a beef that I held on to for a long time, and they didn't support GPU pass-through with NVIDIA cards, but I think that's long gone. So I would say, like, if you before you buy a device and then think like, hey, I'm gonna run this specific hypervisor on it, it's gonna be great. I would say if you have an extra device laying around, install it and try it out before you get the device, right? Just get something that supports, virtualization and try it out. See if you like it. Same with Proxmox. If you're like, hey, I don't know, Proxmox versus XCPNG, try them both out. Spin it up, get it working, check out the UI, see if you like it. Create a virtual machine, do a couple of tasks. You don't have to go all out. But a couple of tasks you would normally do, like create a virtual machine. How does that work? Okay, this feels right. This feels good. Backups. How do backups work? Oh yeah, this is how you back stuff up. Auto starting. Can I auto start VMs on both of these systems? Kind of put together your own little mini RFP on the things you want out of a hypervisor, and just build a little checklist and try that. I know that's a lot of work. But at the same time, if that's what you don't really know, which one is better, that's the route I go. Honestly, I'd probably go all in with one of them until I was tired of it. And then that kind of forces me to say, like, okay, is the cost of switching worth switching? Or is the cost of the thing that I don't like so bad that I'm willing to migrate my whole entire infrastructure over to the other thing? Because I'm guilty. I used to hypervisor hop, if that was the thing. I did for sure. I was VMware, and then I was whatever, VirtualBox for a while, and then I was Hyper-V, and then I was, Proxmox, and then once I got to Proxmox, I told myself, like, I'm no longer going to do these crazy like weekend migrations of 10 terabytes of data and virtual machine conversions. I'm just gonna go all in, and if there's something about it I don't like, I have to weigh it out and say, like, is this really worth switching? So anyways, that was a really long answer to that. And Tom Lawrence has got your back. He's got tons of videos on XCPNG that he knows this stuff, and that's his hypervisor choice. If Tom's choosing it, it's got to be good, for sure. But yeah, anyways, back in the day, the only reason why I chose it is because I needed to pass through an NVIDIA GPU to one of my workloads. I still do. And so that's why I chose it, because at the time, this was 3-4 years ago, XCP&G didn't support it. They do now. And NVIDIA's really relaxed a lot of stuff too. They need to relax a lot more. Probably embed. It probably is. How's it going? Working on a new platform like Twitter in the alpha stages right now, but hopefully soon I'll get closer to a release. Burnout at the moment though. I hear you on the burnt out. I hear you. I hear. Pretty cool. So working on a Twitter-like platform. Awesome. Twitter has very little competitors. You can argue none. I know Mastodon is out there, but is it even getting a fraction of the traffic or even any ad revenue or anything is sustainable business model? Anyways, you can argue it any way you want, but Twitter has like zero competitors. I mean, Mastodon is one. Yes, you could argue. But no one who has like a real, threat to Twitter. So it's just kind of been whatever for a long time. So that's pretty cool. You're working on it. You're working on it. I also heard that Facebook is getting really close to release. Sorry, Meta. I also heard that Meta is getting really close to also releasing a competitor to Twitter. So I think people see the value in posting a little bit of stuff often rather than your life story on every post. So anyways, that's cool. Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it for sure. You should let me know. Let me know. Probably in bed. It is in bed, but if it's probably not, but it probably is in bed. Yeah, post it when it's ready. Share it in Discord and put it in the my project section or something. I'd love to see it. CloudZoo. Speaking of backing up Kate's PV, look on an app called Veloro. I hear about this all the time. I haven't been able to do it yet. Veloro, I hear about it from OneDrop, and I've heard about it in Kubernetes in the community in general. Looks awesome. I want to use it sometime. Right now, for my persistent volumes, I use Longhorn, and that has built-in backup to S3. So I'm kind of covered. I don't want to say like it's great, but it gets me what I need. Backing up my persistent volumes outside of the Kubernetes cluster and throws them in Minio in object storage. So it's pretty cool. But Veloro comes up all the time. OneDrop talks about it. And he might be onto something else now. Who knows? Devin's always just like, he's like next level. He's like, and he's on the next thing too with Kubernetes. So, but yeah, Veloro, it's definitely on my list. I actually have my backlog because I consider doing a video on it, but I'll check it out. Celador, have you watched your latest video? Oh, I hope so. Have watched your latest video. I thought that was a question. Power efficient servers are the way to go in 2023 with energy prices of 60 cents per kilowatt hour in Germany. Yeah, it's we're running into that everywhere. I mean, we've been less affected here in the United States, although our power has gone up. Nowhere like in the rest of the world, especially Europe and Germany, especially. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a tough call. While my power, the cost, or the price that I pay for electricity is still relatively low. No, I still kind of feel bad, using 450 watts all day long every day just for my servers. So yeah, there is that too. But I've always been a fan of mini computers. I've had a NUC for, 10, 15 years. I've had Mac Minis. Like I've always been, I have lots of Pis. I've always just been a fan of like doing a lot with less, as long as I can still do that thing less, even if it's a little bit slower, as long as I can do it, I'm cool with that. So yeah, I'm kind of the same way. So that's why I always, every now and then I'll throw in something about small, low power, something, a Pi, because I'm like you guys, like I like those same sort of things, even though I have servers and I love servers and I have servers racks, sometimes I like a mini device, sometimes you feel like a nut and sometimes you don't. Oh, let's see. Holy Merc breaking things. Holy Merc. Previous comments are cleared, or can Tim still see them? I see them. I don't know if someone cleared them out. I see them. I don't know if someone cleared chat, so I can see stuff. And I have 2 chat things running, so one can't be cleared. The thing that I use to click on stuff, it can't be cleared by anyone but me, and I'm guilty of checking on it. I'm guilty of clearing it accidentally too. But I do still see. Oh yeah. I see. Holy Merc cleared. Oh yeah. Wait. Whoa. Holy Merc enabled. Whoa. Is that the Holy Merc? Yeah. He is going crazy. So if you don't know Holy Merc, now I'm seeing the stuff. He is going crazy. Holy Merc is one of our mods in Discord and also here. So as he's finding out and pressing buttons, he can also mod here. So it's all good. All good. Let's see, Mr. Technician. Yep, I'm in the Twin Cities as well. Nice. Just need to bring my brother to Chick-fil-A to work first. Awesome. Yeah, Chick-fil-A. Yeah, people go crazy for Chick-fil-A, especially Minnesota, because Minnesota like never had a Chick-fil-A. Now they do, and not like they didn't have lines already, but you should see the lines in Minnesota Chick-fil-A. I'm like, because I originally grew up in Indiana. I'm from Indiana. I'm a Hoosier. I don't know if you knew that, but we had Chick-fil-A in Indiana. It was at the mall, so it's like it was at the mall in a food court, and they were always closed on Sundays, even way back then, when there were malls and people went there. Yeah, and I never thought anything about it. I was like, yeah, it's pretty good chicken, kind of expensive. For me as an adolescent with no money whatsoever, I could get a Hot Now hamburger or a McDonald's cheeseburger pretty cheap. So I was like, yeah, it's kind of expensive for me when I was younger. But when I got to Minnesota, I realized like, wow, there isn't one here. And when it came here with a vengeance. And like, you should see it. Like, it's probably like this everywhere else. I haven't seen Chick-fil-A's outside of Minnesota in a long time. But it reminds me of like lining up at the bank with cars like back in the day when my dad would go to the bank and there's like 4 lines and those vacuum tubes and like green lights, but on top of that, then they have people out with iPads like taking your orders and everything, and so it's pretty wild. But yeah, awesome. Anyways, yep, in Twin Cities as well. Just need to bring my brother to Chick-fil-A. All right, pick me up something. Yeah. Let's see. MetLB worked fine with it. MetLB worked. Oh, all right. The other thing I had issues with was like, with SSH, it responds over the VLAN interface rather than the nodes main. I see what you mean. So MetLB is working fine. It's TCP stuff rather than HTTP stuff. Why? Well, yeah, I think you can do TCP. Yeah, you can. TCP and UDP. But yeah, that's interesting, man. When you figure it out, let me know, because I want to at least preserve your notes somewhere. So if one day I do it, I'll be like, how did you fix that again? Mr. Technician, I would prefer running Windows or Linux, Mint, but Ubuntu is okay. If that's all you can run. It's okay if that's all you can run. Yeah, I run Windows. I run Windows 11. This whole entire stream is running on Windows 11. I have a MacBook right here that's running Mac OS. I have Ubuntu running back there. I use different things at different times. I've always been a fan of Ubuntu desktop, except for like when they went to the Unity UI for a little while. It's kind of like, it's not me. I get it that you're trying to do tablet stuff like Windows 8, but that didn't work out for Windows, so you probably shouldn't do that either. So I'm okay with it. But yeah, I like Mint. I like a Mint, Ubuntu Mint, and I like Mate too as well. Mate is super nice, super clean, super flat. Ubuntu Mate is pretty cool. Pretty cool. I mean, Mint's nice because it's batteries included. They're just like, yeah, we're gonna just make everything work. Codecs are gonna work. Restricted drivers are gonna be installed, and we're gonna make it look kind of nice. And we're gonna give you some nice apps out of the box. So it's definitely white glove treatment for Ubuntu, I guess I should say. But if you don't want all that, but you just don't like GNOME, I think Mate is super nice too. I haven't looked at KDE in a while. I used to love KDE back in the day, and then it got too like Vista Glass for me, and I haven't revisited it in a while, so I probably should. It's about time. Flykin, Techno Tim, hey, do you use Artemis? Use Artemis RGB? If so, do you know of any good tutorials on how to make your own profiles for RGB? I have ideas for some RGB effects, but I can't figure out the more complex profiles. No, I do not. So I don't use Artemis. I've heard of it, and I think it's a easy-ish way to program RGB lights. No, I don't. I have like Philips Hue and some other lights in here, and I wrote all the code myself, and it's written in JavaScript and some in TypeScript and runs in Node, and I write code directly against the Hue API, the Hue hub that's in my house. I will say though, what I plan on doing, I don't know if this is going to help you, is what I'm going to do is all of my devices are now imported into Home Assistant. Like Home Assistant knows about them. I don't control all of them through there, but it knows about them. And so for the really, really custom things, I'm going to start writing code against Home Assistant so I can have a common API to do stuff. So eventually I'll be writing code against, Home Assistant's API versus, hey, do this in the Philips Hue Hub, and hey, do this in Broadlink, and hey, do this for, this other IoT device. And I have to write like tons of custom code, which is fine, but I'd rather have like one API and go against, Home Assistant. So I don't know if that can help you, because I don't think like the RGBs that you're actually controlling have like controller, or might not be able to be imported into Home Assistant, but that might be the way to go if you can. Smay. I'm just going with Smay. I won a printer at an auction. Did you really win though if you got a printer? No, I'm kidding. Printers for me are like nothing but problems. Anyways, so I won a printer at an auction of all the assets of a closed college. Wow. It came with what I thought was a broken old PC, but it turns out it was a Nixus new old PC with a Giga GPIB interface card. Haven't found anything useful for that interface yet. I'm going to get XP working and pretend I'm 17 years old again. Yeah, me too. Yeah, the good old days of XP. Oh man, I loved XP. I seriously loved XP when it came out. It was great. It was great. I was okay with the Teletubby interface and everything because I was like, it was just nice to have a refresh of color. And plus, drivers and stuff were generally better after like SP1. But yeah, awesome. Let me know how XP works. I can still hear that startup chime. I can hear the login chime. I can hear that in my head all the time because I use that use XP a ton. And then where I worked, I helped migrate everything to XP because it was a hospital and they were like 10 years behind anyway. So it was good times. A lot of nostalgia there. What do I do for work? Dakota the Kid, software engineer at a startup. And I worked at a really small startup, and then we got acquired, and now I work for a larger startup. But software engineer and duties as assigned. So I write lots of code, and I do lots of Kubernetes stuff, and everything you can imagine. General IT stuff, you name it. 2 weeks ago, I took our network down at the office accidentally. So I'm surprised they haven't taken away my rights to some of the stuff that I have rights to. But I mean, my official title is, I'm principal software engineer at a company. I write lots of software. I build lots of systems. I help migrate stuff, build stuff, new stuff, do apps, web, back end, front end, a little bit of data and reporting. I'm kind of like, it's not my thing, but I'll do it. I usually have to ask a guy I work with, which he usually asks me for the UI stuff. So I'm like, this is fair trade. This is a fair trade for me because most people back end hate, front end stuff. And I do front end stuff along with other stuff. And I'm kind of the opposite. Anyways, software engineer and duties as assigned. I'll say that when you work at a startup, you end up doing a lot of stuff and you have a very small job description because most of it is just kind of like whatever you have to do to get things done. Let's see, Dakota the Kid. I'm also trying to learn Docker and going to mess around with vulnerability scanner. Yeah, I think Docker is a great skill to learn, even if you're just like, hey, I'm going to run Plex at home, or hey, I'm going to run this stuff at home. Just having that, that mental muscle to be able to say like, okay, I get what it is. I know how to stop a container. I know how to start a container. I kind of know where the logs are to look at, and I've done it before. Just having that, I think, in your tool belt is highly valuable, and I think it's really awesome. And Docker itself, or I should say containers itself, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, they could for some things, but I feel like they're going to be around for a little while until someone figures out a better way to do stuff like WebAssembly and stuff like that. But that's only for web. So anyways, but yeah, I think it's good to pick up. I think that's awesome. And a vulnerability scanner on top of that. Yeah, why not? Lewis, I'm using Proxmox cluster and full Windows homelab setup at the moment. I'm learning SCCM and GPO stuff for work since we have no dev test environment. I get that. I know what you mean. I'm currently second line and working closely with the third line team to learn as much as possible. That is awesome, Lewis. Sweet. So learning SCCM and GPO stuff, I love it. I love it. That's how I got started when I was in tech support. We were, tier 2 or tech support. And for a while, it was a ton of breaks, fix stuff. And then all of a sudden they were like, hey, like, do you want to learn some packaging? And do you want to learn some group policy stuff? And I was like, heck yeah, I do. Heck yeah, I do. I'm over this, like, installing software from CDs type stuff. I'm dating myself, but you know, when I started a company, it was a health system, so they were behind. And then two, like, most of our software was installed through CDs. I'm like, what are we even doing here? Like, I barely install software of CDs at home. So anyways, I think those are valuable things to learn. SCCM, love-hate relationship with SCCMs. System Center Config Manager, but a Microsoft product to help you do config management, and as well as package some software and deploy software. So it's super fun. I did package deployments. Well, I didn't actually do the deployments. I did the packaging for a long time at a couple places I worked. I loved it, and that's what got me into code. That's really what got me into code. Bill Nash, sup nerds? All right, there's Bill Nash. You know Bill Nash is here when it's sup nerds. Dude, thank you so much for the resub. Tier 1, 14 months. Dude, year and 2 months. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, going back into to GPO stuff and SCCM stuff, I love packaging, and through packaging and scripting stuff and automating stuff, that's where I really started to want to develop software and write quote unquote code or whatever. I mean, you could argue that any language, machine language is code, but I wanted to get more into programming and development, and packaging software along with automation really sparked that for me. So awesome. Let's see. I'm going over because I started a little bit late. So Jax Armstrong, greetings. Thank you for the good informative video about a silent server. Thanks. I'm in the business, so that was a good information for beginners and intermediate users. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. It's it was fun to figure out. It was fun for sure, and I said this earlier, but Protectly, they didn't pay me. It wasn't sponsored by them. They reached out to me on Twitter and said, "Hey, do you want a couple of our devices? No questions asked. We support Proxmox now. We'd love for you to have one." And I was like, "Yeah." I mean, who wouldn't say yes? And they didn't ask for a video. They didn't ask for a review. They didn't ask for anything. They just said, "Let us know if you need some help." And so I was like, "Okay." And that was like a month and a half ago. So, I have a long tail on a lot of stuff. And so, they were probably like, yeah, this guy, he's been using it. I wonder if he likes it. And sure enough, I made one. But anyways, awesome. Yeah, there are so many choices out there. A lot of people say, there's things out there cheaper. There's things out there better. You could say that about anything. So if it's a good fit for you, I'd say go for it. But it's super fun. It's fun to play with devices. It's, I have a lot of devices of my own. I do a ton of software stuff all day. Every now and then I just need to geek out on devices. So, but awesome. I'm glad you liked it, Jax. Sinvi. Hi, Tim. I've been binging your content recently. Any tips on migrating my dozen services from TrueNAS scale to more Kubernetes environment? Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. How much time you got? So if you're doing TrueNAS scale, that means that you are kind of doing Kubernetes. You are, but you don't know it because you've been mostly driving that stuff in the UI, kind of like how Rancher was. Rancher does a lot more stuff, but anyways, my suggestion. So if I were to say, hey, I'm on Docker only, or I'm on some other container platform, I've been through this. I'm on some other container platform. Now I want to go to Kubernetes. What would be my game plan? How would I get there? For me personally, the first thing I would do is spin up a Kubernetes cluster. Like, take migration out of it and just say, nope, I need to learn a little bit about Kubernetes. Need to make sure it's stable before I go all in. And so if you have a couple of extra virtual machines, you probably have a hypervisor, spin up a 3-node cluster really quick. I have an Ansible playbook that will help you do that, and it takes about 3 or 4 minutes, and you have HA Kubernetes magically. Not magically, a lot of work by a lot of people, and and play with it. If you're doing this on TrueNAS scale, you have a UI, you have a lot of things you can do and look at and figure out. When you go to Kubernetes, you don't have that. So Kubernetes out of the box, there isn't a UI. There's an API that you can interact with kube control commands. And so, you kind of have to figure out, is this the route I want to go? I would say yes, because it's pretty awesome. But that's just me, and I'm a little biased. But So if you have convinced yourself that you are ready to go to Kubernetes and you're already running containers, you're in a good spot. You're in a good spot because you have maybe YAML, or you have screenshots, or you know what your services, you know which containers your services are using now. You probably have some volumes that they need, and you know what ports they need. And so you have a lot of things in place already. It's when you go from, just normal, quote unquote, applications, uncontainerized applications, to Kubernetes or to Docker that things get super confusing. So anyways, I would say take one of your services that is stateless and try to move it to Kubernetes. And what do I mean by stateless? This comes up a lot. I'll be brief, but it's going to be a service that doesn't have any idea or any state within the container. So that means you're not mapping any volumes. You're not, mapping any volumes, or maybe it, communicates with something else somewhere else. But what I would say is try to use a container that doesn't have any map volumes, because you're coming from Kubernetes. So that might limit your options, because most applications need some kind of state. If they get it from a database, totally fine. If they get it from somewhere else, Kafka or whatever, Redis, totally fine. Those are also stateless too. But when you have local volumes attached to them, that makes it a little bit tough. So what I would do is try to find the easiest, the most simple workload you have possible, and try to get it running on that cluster. And you could even do something as simple as, Nginx by itself, and put a Hello World web page in there and see, like, how does this work? How do I expose ports? How do I deploy it? How do I upgrade it? Because those are the things you're going to end up doing. You're going to end up doing a lot of DevOps stuff, and some of the DevOps stuff you're going to do aren't even done by some DevOps engineers now, because they're using Kubernetes as a service. So running your own cluster, you learn quite a bit about Kubernetes, and how to maintain it. It's can be wild, and it can go off kilter, and it can bring its own self down if you overload it. So yeah, but anyways, I don't mean to scare you. I would say go for it. Create a cluster, move one thing over there, and play with it. But then after that, you have a roadmap for, hey, here are my containers in TrueNAS scale. Here are all of their whatever. Look at the manifest, and you can say, here are the ports. Here are the volumes they need to map. Here are the things, whatever. And then try to move it over there. I would save, like if you're like, hey, I have Plex, and that's running there, and I have a GPU pass through. Save that one for the very end, because once you start going down that path, it becomes, it just becomes really complicated, and you might get discouraged. So I'd save, even though they might be fun, I would save those for last and go for easy ones. You want quick wins. You want easy wins in Kubernetes. And so migrate all of the easy stuff first. Save the hard ones for last, even if they are the most fun ones, because sometimes fun does not equal easy in Kubernetes. I can guarantee that. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Okay. I've gone way over, only because I wanted to give some time back to you. But I'm going to, I'm gonna look for one. Let's see. I'll go to this one. Just randomly pick one. Do you have any experience of, or any opinion of Starlink hardware, particularly their routers, mesh or individual? It's a little bit difficult to research their stuff, as you have to be a customer to get their docs or shop online. I don't. I have zero experience with Starlink. I looked at their website, and their website looks cool, and that's about it. I have zero experience with it. My only experience is watching YouTube videos, with like Gearling and other folks who have had one and not have it, and have gone back and forth on whether or not they want it anymore. But I don't. Wish I could offer something. I mean, you could just Google Starlink Reddit, and you're gonna find a lot of information. But I don't. I wish I could. I wish I could offer some. I thought about having a backup internet connection here, or dual WAN here, and Starlink was going to be that answer for me, but not doing it yet. I'm not doing it yet. My internet, while is critical, I can't justify the cost of having two ISPs right now. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna call it, because I just scrolled and got close to the end. So anyways, hey all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining the stream and sharing your experiences or questions. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for asking questions. If no one asked questions, this would be a very boring stream. I've been there before, so I greatly appreciate you being here and being in chat. Also, there were lots of subs. There were lots of resubs and gifted subs, follows, and bits. So thank you all so much for that. I really appreciate it. It still blows my mind that people are here in my stream and subscribe to me, because there was a long time when I did this and there was no one here, and that's totally fine too. But I'm just glad you're here, and I'm really glad that people are here and chatting and get to talk, because I say this almost every week, but this is my one time to fully geek out on like homelab stuff, because, you know, as someone asked earlier, what do you do for your day job? You know, I'm a software engineer, and duties as assigned. And sometimes those duties as assigned are the things I really like, but that's not really my job. And so getting to do this and talking to you all on Saturdays, I look forward to it every week, because I totally get to nerd out. And a lot of my inspiration and ideas come from you. It's not like I just dream these up. You know, someone will ask a question and I'll say, oh yeah, I like that. I like parts of that. I'm going to put it in my backlog and then like expand on this idea later. So I appreciate it. So anyways, hey, have a great Saturday. I heard most people say there's great weather, so I hope you have a great weekend. If you celebrate Easter, happy Easter tomorrow. If you don't, hey, happy Sunday. And I will be back next Saturday, same time, 3 CST. I'll probably be a little late, because I always am, but not as late as I was today, because that's not usual. So hey, if you have more questions, you should join our Discord server. We have a Discord server. We're getting close to 9,000 people. You should hop in, join. You don't have to say anything. Low pings. I think there's like one a week, if that, or once every 2 weeks. I mean, you know, from me or from the mods. No one else is pinging unless they want to talk to you. But pretty laid back, and a lot of people talk about a lot of tech stuff all day long. So tech chit chat means you name it. And a lot of home lab stuff too. A lot of people helping people get stuff done at home in their lab. So, and yeah, so if you'd like to join, there's Discord links below, or !Discord you can run right now, or just go to technotim.live and find it there, or go to Discord GG Technotim. Lots of ways, just Google it. And if you don't, like, message me on Twitter and I will send you an invite. Anyways, have a good Saturday. Have a great rest of the weekend, and take care, folks. Be good to each other.